I want to open today with a comment that somebody wrote to me just this morning, and I think that this really needs to be bounced off the panel. Somebody was arguing with me, and as they always do, every minute of every day in social media, where somebody told me that the Genesis account is the original, and any pagan similarities are incidental or distorted copies of the original. And the same goes for the Gilgamesh story with its completely unseaworthy cube shaped ark, just a distorted copy of Genesis. So, the tales of the epics and all of that from 2200 BCE are all newer copies of
Mm.
the Genesis account written in the 5th century BCE.
Well, in their mind,
Yeah.
it's it would be the first one written, but it'd be far, far older. But the at least in their weird chronology, but the biggest issue with that model is that when it comes to who was in control of like the whole fucking land for the time, at the time, it wasn't Israel. It was either we got Mesopotamia, Babylon, Sumer, right? We have then you have the Babylonians, the Assyrians, like those guys are the ones in control. Their texts will be more widely known across their world. It is far less likely that a global superpower would take the stories of one small community in relation to them than that one small community taking a greater story from a global superpower.
My problem with it is
The question is it a
the types of similarities and differences, where we have the trivial details that all match, but the big important stuff is completely different.
Like which god they're getting the favor
Exactly.
of, or getting slaughtered by, or pissing off. This is one of the things that in retrospect I so viscerally hate about my creationist education, because a lot of parents lie to themselves that they're just keeping their children from understanding evolution, which will make them think they're not animals, which will mean blah blah moral blah blah. You've all heard the arguments, we've all have. But in order to fit into a creationist narrative, you not only have to ignore paleontology, geology, the entire world of astrophysics and everything associated with it, but you also have to ignore like the majority of written history from a timeline standpoint, not perhaps from a library standpoint, but from the standpoint of the time of human history for which we have both artifacts and written records. I mean, I've made the joke, and it is true, that we have a 28,000-year-old dildo. If you want to talk about human artifacts, like that is many, many times older than the universe, apparently. But putting which the hardcore ones will, a 6,000-year time limit on our existence doesn't allow for history as it occurred. We're talking about the Indus Valley. We're talking about Sumer. You have to compress all these things and ignore all of these things, and things like the Babylonian tablets, the not Babylonian, sorry, Neo-Babylon, the cuneiform tablets, the clay tablets with all these both histories and records of buying and selling, but also literature and things on them. We have the originals, and not only that, but we have astrological events that can provide absolutely foolproof 100% accuracy in dating. There is no way that this conjunction of the spheres was off by like 500 years. No. Some of these things happen like thousands of years apart. It's just not possible. So you have to ignore all of that reality to make this claim. And the way they do that is by, well, denying all kinds of realities, but you have to deny the times we actually know when Gilgamesh was written, or at least, the versions we have access to.
Look at the antiquity of the Sumerian king list. Just that alone.
Absolutely.
But there's no way to deny the antiquity of that document.
Don't underestimate deliberate ignorance. There is no
Okay.
honest way to deny, but it is absolutely possible to deny.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Like, maybe 300 years ago or 200 years ago, they would teach this stuff in university, like the Bible is the oldest stuff. But over the last 100 years or less, the archaeological discoveries that have uncovered many of these tablets have completely debunked that concept. So, like, you've got like the Enuma Elish, that's like dated 1300 BC, and that's
yeah.
like, original, like it's all like in the tablet and it's in stone.
I'll be
The
right back.
oldest thing that there is in Hebrew, for example, is the Kerbet Kifaya inscription. You'll have to forgive my mispronunciation probably, but that's like dated to like at the oldest, it's the 11th century BC. So by a few hundred years, the archaeological evidence demonstrates that these Babylonian myths definitely predated anything that's like Genesis. This is a great resource for anyone wanting to look into in greater depth. I mean, you can see how hefty it is.
Yeah.
It even shows you drawings of the tablets so that you can examine everything for yourself.